Are you ready to scale and outsource your business?
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to the Outsourcing and Scaling Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hirsch, a show where we talk about everything Amazon, Shopify, e-commerce, and digital marketing. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Outsourcing and Scaling. Today I have a very special guest, Mike Zeller. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nathan. Always great to connect with other talented entrepreneurs like yourself. That's my tribe. And when you get to connect with brilliant, talented, motivated, ambitious people, it energizes me every day. So can't complain at all.
I love it. And you and I met, I think it was after a ClickFunnels event at dinner. And we spent all dinner just talking about scaling businesses. And when I launched the podcast, I thought, man, I got to reach out to Mike. I want to pick his brain and share it with my audience. Real quick, before we dive into that, Mike is the founder of Wonder House, a CMO of Life Guides, and the founder of Rising Stars Mastermind. He's a business architect, and he helps entrepreneurs and thought leaders win at business and life, designing their business around the life they want to live. And we're going to talk all about that. But first, I want to take a step back. Before founding the companies, before being an entrepreneur, what were you like growing up? Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Were you a rebel? Were you a straight A student?
Yeah, great question. Man, I was a super ambitious, motivated, baseball player. I was just hustling in baseball, studying baseball, playing it as much as I could. I was an A and B student in high school and college. And, I saw myself climbing the corporate ladder. I remember I was like, man, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to have a BMW and I'm going to be an executive or something. But by the time I was 30, I was fully self-employed and on my own. I did have an Audi, but I didn't have a BMW at that point. But, I didn't necessarily think I would be an entrepreneur, but as I journeyed down, I realized, man, this job thing was not for me. I was meant to create, meant to lead, meant to chart my own path.
So when did you first get that entrepreneurial itch?
Yeah,
first venture?
Yeah, I'd say I first really started feeling it in my mid-20s. When I was 26, 27, I was working at a mortgage company and investing in real estate. And so I was like, man, there's something here. And then I started selling real estate. That was the first time I was truly self-employed. And I crushed it. I doubled my income, more than double, actually almost tripled my income my first year of being fully self-employed. I was like, dude, why have a ceiling over me, and why have someone else dictating when I work and how I work? And then I was like, as time went on, I was at the top of my field in the real estate game within a year or two. I was like, you know what? If this game's this easy, I'm meant for something more. I felt like my soul was, by my third year, I was like, man, if I just stay in this game, I feel like my soul is going to die. And so I was meant for a lot more than that. So I started making a shift, and I went to Buenos Aires, Argentina, for a 6-week mini sabbatical and unplugged from work. Had my business taken care of while I was there. And then at the end, I realized my last week there, I was sitting in a cafe, and this epiphany hit me. It was like, Mike, if you're the engine of your businesses, you're going to get tired. But if you design the engine, you could do amazing things. And so I came back, I was like, you know what, how do I design a business where I'm not the engine? And so came back, launched 3 more businesses that next year.
I love it. So talk a little bit about doing that, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get involved in the hustle, the day-to-day operations of the business. I'm guilty of that sometimes as well. How do you start that mindset where you're creating something, your business is your baby, but you're taking a step back and you're looking at it from the outside rather than staying on the inside Monday through Friday or 7 days a week?
Yeah. At the beginning, especially if this is your primary or only source of income, you really have to, most people start in the game of entrepreneurship because they are the business. It's dependent on them. They got to execute, do all those things. But then usually at the 3 to 5 year mark, if someone is aware and alert and engaged and awoke in a way, then they start realizing, man, if I stay in this, I'm just gonna grind myself down to a bloody pulp. And you start thinking, how do I step back and start designing the business? And of course, now that I've been through 12 different ventures, I start at the beginning that way. I start thinking, how do I design the business to leverage my genius to create time and location freedom. Like right now I'm in LA, then I'm in Vancouver next week, then I'm in Europe for 7 weeks this summer. So most of us start doing the business and we just run hard on the doing, but we don't spend a whole lot of time designing it. Typically, I find a lot of, I'm coaching 50 entrepreneurs in 5 different countries right now. And I've noticed that really at about a couple $100,000 of income is when entrepreneurs start realizing, man, I can't work really any harder.
Right.
You hit your limits and you're like, I got to do something different. If I'm going to get, like, a lot of them haven't taken vacations. Their health is suffering. They're like, man, I cannot keep at this pace.
So I'm assuming it has a lot to do with the systems and the people that you put in the business. Is it that and something else that I'm not thinking of?
Yeah, it's partly that. It's partly it's partly really thinking through the 4 S's: systems, structure, strategy, and support. And as you think through those 4 S's, you're designing, hey, what's the structure? Like who gets the accounting contacts, or the pay, who's handling payments, who's handling logistics, administrative stuff, who is handling sales calls, inbound side. And then like you start working on, like what I found a lot of entrepreneurs, we're doing a lot of $10 an hour activities. Many of us, if we're lucky, we're also doing some $100 an hour activities, but not that many of us are consistently doing and even aware of what my $1,000 or my $10,000 an hour activities are. So for a business to go, like you're with your business where you're at right now, where you're in the 8-figure, soon to approach the 8-figure mark, man, you've got to be designing activities that help turn that nozzle just slightly different. And it's a $10,000 an hour type activity. So you start stepping back, you start removing stuff off your plate and handing it off to other people that can do it at least as 80% as good as you can. Delegation. Most people violate 2 things. They violate the situational leadership model, which is the scale of how do I get from directing and telling someone what to do to the explaining, coaching, persuading side, and then all the way to the supporting, and then finally the delegation, where it's full delegation, out of sight, out of mind. Most of us go from step 1 to step 4. We skip steps 2 and 3.
Right.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. I mean, even now, what works in year 0 to 1 didn't work in year 2 to 3. And I'm slowly figuring out that doesn't work in year 3, 4, 5 going forward. Do you have an example of without saying their name, I know they're your clients, but of a company that you came in and they were successful, they were making money, but he was stuck in the day, or she was stuck in the day-to-day operation, that you changed their mindset and they were able to work on those $10,000 tasks and get other people to do the other stuff?
Yeah, a great example. Couple of them. So 2 of my clients, Jordan Duggar and Aaron Diamond, they're fitness entrepreneurs. So they had a big, online fitness brand, but when her and a couple of freelancers, right? And she's making, roughly, a couple $100,000 a year type deal. And then I was like, Aaron, and she hadn't taken vacation. She didn't have moments necessarily. Same for Jordan. And then we worked on, like, all right, there's a systematic bottleneck here. You need to hire more people, remove yourself, extract yourself from the operations. It's like, you got to figure out, how do I design the business so that it falls apart if I step away? I mean, so it doesn't fall apart, not something that does fall apart. And so she started working on that. Then she found someone to replace her for a lot of those activities. And then she was able to work on the higher $10,000 an hour type activities and the bigger strategic elements. And now this year they'll cross north of 7 figures for the first time in a year. And they've had record-setting month after record-setting month after record-setting month, because one, they had space to think of, oh, who is my 4% client? That client that can produce, the 80-20 rule, top 20% produces 80% results. Well, if that is true, why not apply it again? So the top 20% of the top 20%, that's 4% of your clients. They can produce 64% of your revenue. So you
Right.
design everything around them, your sales, your marketing, your messaging, all those things. But most people would never make that level of intentionality. And so they've taken vacations. They just bought their dream home literally last weekend, closed on it. They have more income than ever. They have more impact than ever, and they're having more fun than ever.
I love it. You mentioned delegation and hiring people, and a lot of people listening might say, okay, that sounds easy. Hire someone that can replace me, but hiring isn't that easy. And this is the outsourcing and scaling show. I'm assuming you talk a lot about helping people find the right person and hire. What is your hiring strategy? What do you teach your clients?
Yeah, good question. So it's almost like the player slave model. And so at the beginning, a lot of us, man, we need to test out what our budget is slim. Our margins are slim. We're gaining momentum, but we're not real sure. So, I love to encourage people, test out a bunch of different freelancers. For example, I hired for a design project, simple like slide deck for a presentation for a talk I was giving. I hired 3 different freelancers to do the same exact thing, and they each cost me $100. One of them really delivered. 2 of them did not. And fortunately, I hired 3, so I was fine. Right. And then now I'll go back and hire that same person again and same person again. But as I grow and scale, whether maybe I hire one of those freelancers, like I've hired some freelancers that I said, hey, what's it take to buy half of your time?
Right.
And then I get a little bit of a discount on that and get half their time, and they're incredible. Like you got to, in the freelance world, which is where most of us start, you gotta be willing to sort through some people that are not going to follow through or not going to be a great fit. And I'm not going to be a great fit. I might give poor instructions. I might be a bad leader, and that's okay. As long as I don't stay there, of course. And then the next piece, then you start figuring out, all right, shift has to happen where we go from hiring B players to what's it look like to hire A players? This is the slay model. And when you're ready to slay, you're like, man, it's not how do I get someone good as cheap as possible? It's like, how do I get someone that's the best and find a way to afford the best?
Right. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of people fall into that trap where it's just cheap. How can I save the most money? And you're just missing that whole great group of talent that would really take your business next level and do things at a way higher level than you ever would. The average entrepreneur only has their 1 to 5 core competencies, whatever it is. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they're scaling, let's say from 1 million to 10 million? Yeah.
They don't release control. I've experienced it on both ends. I think they give responsibility, but they don't give authority. So if you hire someone for a position, man, you got to give them not just a responsibility. Hey, you got to get this done, or you're this is your whole job. But if they don't have the authority to make the decisions, and that's one. So marrying responsibility and authority. Secondly, really hiring A players in key leadership, I don't want to call it seismic impact positions, but there's positions within a company that have disproportionate amounts of impact. So when you're hiring and scaling, you got to think, all right, how do I align? First, how do I get those A players, attract A players, and how much are they going to cost? And then how do I actually design? Because it's hard to replace yourself if you're replacing yourself with a bunch of C+ players. Right. You need A's and B's pretty much across the board, and then you eliminate C's or you move C's into different roles. If they're a C, sometimes people are C's in one position, but they could be an A in another position. So really, I think entrepreneurs are often too short-sighted on that. Thirdly, they don't design the systems. Your systems, as you know, like as your business has grown, your systems that supported you when you were in your first 6 months are way different than your systems now at cranking through the volume. You gotta scale up your leadership. You gotta scale up your systems, which might mean it's gonna mean new software, new strategies, new support. It's like 4 S's: systems, structure, strategy, and support. So you gotta continue to elevate all 4 of those at each level. And not every entrepreneur is capable of doing that or is willing. It's rare that an entrepreneur grows with the company as the company grows. Like I had lunch with a guy yesterday. He was one of the first investors in Pandora, the music app, before it became $1 billion company. So he helped it get to $1 billion plus company. And he was telling me the CEO, who they handpicked and they chose, or not handpicked, but that's the main reason they chose a major investment in that company, is like, man, he grew with each level of the company, which is rare. And it's okay if you need to hire a professional CEO, like Google hired Eric Schmidt.
Right.
I think also as entrepreneurs, a big gift that we can do is, like, when I'm hiring people, I'm often hiring A players so I can learn from them. Like I want to hire people that are way smarter than me. And it's like, that's part of my education. Yeah, I'll pay you $100,000, but I get to acquire your advanced copywriting knowledge or your advanced this or that. Right. And so stretching to hire great people can sometimes pay massive dividends.
So how do you know if you're a CEO, you have a growing business, and maybe you're not someone that is adapting? How do you know if you should, let's say, work with you and learn how to adapt and try to acquire those skills, or just say, you know what, that's not for me. I'm good at growing businesses from 1 to 2 million, and then I need to hire a CEO or sell it or move it to someone else. How do you make that decision?
It's a great question. I think usually, I think if you have enough true humility, personal humility, you ask for feedback, and I think you study the game. Like I've studied Dr. Ichak Adizes. He has Breakthrough to Prime, and he's the world's leading authority on organizational cycles and life cycles, and what types of leaders are needed at each, what the organizational strategy and system and structure needs to look like. It's Adizes Institute. And, you have to be honest with yourself. Some entrepreneurs, like if you ask me, I don't want to lead a company that's at a bureaucratic stage. That's not me. I want to be in the early years up until prime, while it's still got this high entrepreneurial energy. Now, if a company needs to be rebooted and they need new entrepreneurial energy, I could be interested in that. But having real honesty and integrity around, it's okay, be who you are. And that's why one of the core processes I take people through is a zone of genius process, where you get real awareness around, man, I am a freaking badass at this, but I suck ass over here.
Right.
And stay out of the suck ass lane. Too many of us are trying to be a suck ass or trying to play in our suck ass lane, and we're never going to be a badass in our suck ass lane.
Is there something consistent that you think works to get someone from, let's say, 5 million to 10 million? That I know we talked about a bunch of different things, but is there something where, like, hey, across the board, every entrepreneur should be doing this if they want to take their business from 5 to 10?
Yeah. I'd say, well, at each level, it's really a multiplier effect of really irresistible offers. Okay. Like, so you can get to even multiple 7 figures with one irresistible offer, one core product. But it's really hard to get, go from 2 million to 5 million with just one core product, unless there's just a massive market. Most of the companies, like if I look at my buddies at Ancient Nutrition, or otherwise known as drax.com, they went from 2 to 15 to 45 to 96 to 145 to over 200 million this year is what they'll hit. And they got one product, then they got another product, then they got another product, and each one helped them. They kept on reselling, where they've been tempted to go off path, is they just, they want to keep creating products. And so their core product, that is their profit hub, they would run out of stock. And so part of what was helping them grow was they had multiple products. So I think for that 5 to 9 million mark, let's say 5 to 10 million, It's doubling down on your highest profit maximizers, and that's your clients. That's like a core piece that helped Dr. Axe make some massive leaps. As an example, is they got real clarity on who their 4%, their raving fan, biggest client, who they are, and then they just redesigned everything around them. And then it helped them, and then they got closer to them and found out what is it they really want, and then started designing more products around what they really want. Because your best customers will keep buying more and more and more if you serve them even better.
This has been awesome. Before we wrap up, I want to know, where in the world are you right now and where are you going next? Because I know you travel a lot.
Yeah. So I'm in LA right now till Tuesday. Then I'm off to Vancouver for some in-person consults with some companies up there. And then back to Nashville, and then we're off to Cambridge and London and Barcelona and Copenhagen and Croatia for the summer. So it's going to be fun. Can't wait.
Love it. Is Croatia with baby bathwater or no?
No, I wish. No, are you going over there for that?
I'm debating it right now. To be determined.
Yeah. No, it's for a Mind Valley event. So, but then, yeah, so we'll see. I haven't been to Croatia yet, so I'm super pumped.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I run into you somewhere. If people are listening, where can they find out more about you, and what are you excited about in 2019 besides the traveling?
Yeah. So 2019, I'm launching my own podcast. I haven't finalized the name yet, but it might be called Best Life Journal or Best Life Podcast. And then I have a journal coming out called the Best Life Journal. Super stoked about my mastermind, risingstarsmastermind.com. That's the website there. If you guys are interested in that. And then just love, I love creating, and I love the new opportunities that are incredibly potentially lucrative and a lot of fun with amazing people that I have in terms of clients and the masterminds and just some business partnerships as well that are emerging, and super stoked. So for second year of marriage as well, about to celebrate our 1-year anniversary next month. So it's been a great ride so far. So yeah, so super pumped.
That's awesome. Guys, if you were listening, if you want to scale your business, if you want to have a better life-business balance and really create a good architect for your business, check out Mike. Mike, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Nathan. Always great connecting.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this content? If so, click like, leave us a comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can continue bringing you great content all about hiring.